Hi, welcome to the Art of Shame-Free Living podcast. So the other day I was thinking about joy, which will actually tie into exactly what I'm talking about today. And I was like, what feels like really joyful? And I was like, oh, I'd love to do a podcast episode on recapping my peacemaking event. And the second thing that felt most joyful to me was to talk about personality type systems. So I'm going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk about my top 3 favorite personality type systems and how each of them has changed my life in different ways. And this relates directly to joy. So one of the personality type systems is called human design. Human design is based in like an astrological system. I'm not going to try to explain it because it's more than over my head anyways, but I learned about it years ago, and you can go get a free human design report anywhere. You can literally just Google like free human design report. It's based on the day and time of your birth. But when I first figured mine out and I started learning more about it, I really felt connected to it. And one of the things that's true about my personality type, which is called manifesting generator within the human design type system, is joy and excitement and fun. And if something feels fun, if something feels easy, if something feels effortless, like that is the direction. And specifically joy, I think that also goes with my Enneagram 7 nature, which I'll also talk about today. But anyway, so it's funny talking about this podcast is that like the whole reason that I'm even doing this episode is because I was asking myself today, like, how could I do everything that I'm doing in my business today with joy? What would it look like to be joyful, like on my call and to feel joy? What would I want to do to move my body today? Well, what about journaling? What about meditation? What about a podcast episode? Would that sound fun? And if it does, what kind of an episode? Anyways, so all of this came about from that. But before we dig into each personality type system, I want to mention that the reason why this is important is because I believe truly that the more me I can become, the more the world is blessed, the more the world, like my micro world, but also the world, like the macro world. I think that the world in general gets like uplifted. The more that I get to be myself, the more authentic, the more me, the more comfortable I feel with me. Youest you that you can be blesses your world. This isn't true for just me. This is true for all of us. There's this manifestation concept, and I've talked about it before, but it's that idea that if something is good for me, it's good for the world. Well, it's good for me to be more me and to be more comfortable with being me. And it's also good for the world. So why learn more about yourself? That's why. And I've taken so many personality type systems tests in the past. I've always loved personality styles. In fact, I took this one called behavioral DNA, and you have to actually take it through a registered psychologist at this corporation that we lived around in Montreal, and JD was taking an internship through them. So it was like pretty tricky to be able to take it anyways, but it was very thorough. And my number one career match was like psychological assessment, like to be the person that does the psychological assessments on people. And that landed, obviously. And I was like, oh, I've always loved personality type systems. This is before I started my business. This is years ago. And so I thought that was awesome. But personality type systems has always been a passion of mine. And I know if you listed off the test, like I have taken it. If there is a test, I have taken it. And they always felt a little restrictive. None of them felt like they were really open. In fact, I think I even had a coach take me through Clifton Strengths Finder test, and I like paid for some coaching with her in that vein. And it still just didn't feel like it was open. It felt constricted. It felt closed. It felt too boxed in and not open up enough for me. So Enneagram was the first personality type system that I felt opened me up. Human design was the next, Gene Keys was the next, and I love all 3 of them for different reasons, but I'm going to go over each of them briefly. So I'll start with human design because I already started with that one a little. So human design, again, it's based like on the day and time of your birth. There's 5 different main types within those systems: manifesting generator, projector, reflector, and manifester. And it's much more detailed and complex than that. Those are just like the 5 basic systems. I'm going to give you an example about how human design made me more me. So up until human design years ago, I had this habit that I used to think was a bad habit, where I would have lots of books. Like if you could see my bedside stand, I have like probably 10, maybe 12 books that I'm reading right now, currently, all at the same time. And that has always been the case. I've always had multiple books. I always go to the library and get a giant stack of books out. Some of them I never finish. Some of them I don't even start. Some of them I flip through and I'm like, this isn't for me. I used to feel bad about that. And I used to push myself to like finish books, like just finish what you start, just get the book out and finish it. Like you got it out of the library. I did this with courses too. If I bought a course online about cleaning my house or something like that, I'd be like, well, you have to finish it. Even though I'd start it and wouldn't really like it, or I just didn't jive with it anymore, I wasn't interested anymore, I'd be like, no, you have to start it. Something fascinating about manifesting generators is like our energy really shifts. It like goes in one area and it's like there or it's not. And wherever it is, it's like meant to be. So like I meant to like sample the world. I meant to taste little samples of things and decide, is this for me or is this not for me? I am not meant to follow through with every single thing I start. I'm meant to sample until I find the thing that like really lights me up and then go all the way. And that was really opposite of my thinking. So human design didn't teach me something I didn't already know about myself. I already knew that that was true about me, but I didn't allow myself to be me in that way because I had this societal belief that you finish what you start, that I was flaky, that I was flighty, and that I was irresponsible. So what shifted for me was like, yes, absolutely, this is who I am for sure, but is that okay? Is it okay to be that way? And not only is it okay, it's amazing. I actually love that now. And I think there's this idea too of integrating learning from different areas, different aspects. A friend of mine sent me a reels and she was like, this is how you read books. And like you're able to ingest things that are like multidisciplinary and be able to make connections that other people might not make because you're reading a lot of books at one time. I also believe that there's books that are meant for me and there's books that aren't at different times in my life. And that's true too. And that it's okay if I buy a course and then I change my mind because it doesn't feel like it's for me. It's okay if I start something and change my mind. It's okay if I make a whole schedule for the week and then I'm like, you know what? I don't like this schedule. I'm going to do it differently. And I no longer believe at all that that's flaky or flighty or irresponsible. And that those things that I was taught, whether that was conscious or unconscious, were completely false from society. They are not true one bit. I have been able to get much more accomplished and much more of what truly matters in my life through being more me in my own way. I'm happier, my family's happier, my relationships are happier, my life is happier. And I believe that the more joy and light and love that we bring to ourselves, we bring it to the world, we bring it to the collective. So that's my human design example. So go ahead and get your own. It's a free profile thing. I won't have a link here, but you can just Google it. Secondly, let's get into Enneagram. So Enneagram is quite different. Enneagram is based on maladaptive childhood patterning, basically. So something happened in your childhood that kind of created your personality, created who you are. Some people believe that, you know, if you have a spiritual belief that it's like you kind of chose to come to this family or to this situation and that's kind of how it came to be. So did your personality come first or was your personality like created after that? I don't know. But Enneagram would probably say, at least most people would probably say within Enneagram, that it happens through negative and positive things happening during your childhood that shape your personality. There's 9 different ones. If you already know and love Enneagram and you want to do a deep dive, I would suggest to go to Spotify and look up Atlas, Sleeping at Last. They have songs on the Enneagram and you can listen to your Enneagram song. And I felt like the words for me really landed. If you want to learn more about me, go listen to my Enneagram song. I'm a 7 through and through, and it's awesome. A few things I want to say about Enneagram. One is I had an Enneagram coach for a while and she was like, what do you know about the Enneagram? I'm like, well, I know a lot about number 7 and I know nothing about any of the other ones. And she was like, that's the most 7 thing that you could have said. And it's true. It's true. I just really was like, I will deep dive on this one that makes sense to me and that matters to me. And I didn't really learn a lot about the other ones for a while. There's 9 numbers. You're going to be one of the 9 numbers, but you have wings and the wings are like the way that you like balance out. So if I'm a 7, my wings are going to be both an 8 and a 6. And one might be more strong than the other one, but there are ways to kind of like balance out whatever your 7, your personality type is. There's also lines that you go to in integration and disintegration. So that can be like health or unhealth. You can reach to those numbers also to help you grow. So you're like, okay, how can I use this number or use the positive aspects of this number to help me in this relationship or help me with what I'm going through? So it is more complex than like just the 9 numbers also, because you have all these other numbers as well. But your core number is the one that makes the biggest difference, I think. So for me, again, I felt like Enneagram helped me understand myself in a way that made more sense to me. Yes, it didn't tell me anything new about myself. I was like, yeah, I know all of that, but it felt more okay to be me. Like, again, number 7 is a little bit in what people might call like the flighty category, like love change, love adventure, love risk taking, a lot of that going on. And so other people might look at it and be like, oh, you shouldn't live your life in that way. But I think Enneagram tells us like, no, it's okay to be you. And I also think cool about the Enneagram is it's going to tell you a little bit about like the shadow side as well. So at least this book, which I highly suggest, I'm not affiliate for them in any way, but I love them. The Enneagram Guide to Waking Up, Find Your Path, Face Your Shadow, Discover Your True Self by Beatrice Chestnut and Uranio Paez. What I like about this book is that I'm going to take you to mine, for example, is that if you go to number 7, it's going to talk a little bit about what you might have been like as a child. It's going to have like a checklist so you can see, is this a number that I am? But what I really love is it talks about shadows also. And so these are like the parts of your personality that are going to be hard. And here's how you can meet those parts of yourself. So I'll give you an example for mine. Look at your cravings to see what triggers them. Well, everyone needs to experience pleasure. Being dependent on feeling good may fuel addictive behavior that stems from unacknowledged fear or sadness. Observe how engaging people with stories and other forms of intellectual seduction may help you rationalize problems, deflect discomfort, or maintain freedom. Examine whether your style of charming and disarming people who might have problems with you may work sometimes, but also deepen discord in the long run. Anyway, so there's quotes and there's little things that you can look at. So I love those to kind of just think about, how is this pattern showing up for me consciously, and how can I kind of move through it and dig into it a little bit more deeply and shift some of those things. But also, as I was reading through these, I was thinking like, also, this is so hard to do on a conscious level. Like, I don't think you could do all of the things it says to go through without some subconscious work, and subconscious work being like the emotional work, the work I talk about here on the podcast. You can go back and listen to any of my subconscious practices. That work is what really loosens things that we cannot access consciously. If I'm like, oh, stop repressing your anger. Okay, great. Stop repressing my anger. But like, how do I actually do that? And I think that's what the subconscious work is so great for. So I would say like personality type systems mixed with the subconscious work is like where the real gold is going to be. Enneagram. One thing to note. A lot of Enneagram experts will tell you this. They'll say it's really hard to determine your Enneagram based on quizzes. The quizzes aren't always super accurate. And this is because, like I said, you have a number in integration and disintegration, and you have your wings. It can be tricky to determine which of those numbers are me and my like core number. And your number doesn't change throughout lifetime, by the way. It's like, this is just who you are. Aspects might change, right? Like your health and disintegration and integration numbers, you might lean on a little bit more, but your core number won't change. So number one, don't rely solely on tests. If you take a few tests and you get the same number over and over again and you read about that number and you're like, yeah, this feels like me, it probably is you. That's what happened to me. But I will give you an example about my son. One of my sons was trying to do Enneagram. They suggest you don't do it till you're older, just because it is based on like your developing personality throughout childhood. So it's not really meant for kids. It's meant for older people. But for my older kids, I did Enneagram with them. And as I was kind of discovering their Enneagram, there was this one kiddo and he could not figure it out. He was like, either it's a 1 or it's a 4, it's a 7, it's a 9. And like, we just kept taking tests and we asked AI over and over again and we could not figure it out. But I had my friend Jack come and teach us about Enneagram, and my program Manifest Me. And this one number that she got to, which was the number 1, she was like, in health, they go to 4, in unhealth, they go to 7. Their wings are 9 and 2. And it was like every single number that we had come up with in his tests were all answered by this like one number. And as soon as I opened up this book and started reading about number 1, I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. It's so spot on. Every single thing is so spot on. So give yourself time to kind of read through them, understand them. Self-diagnose is the best diagnosis, I think, here. Not that it's a diagnosis, but you know what I mean. And one thing that I loved, so once I discovered that one of my kiddos was a type 1, I started reading about his shadows. So for instance, one of them says, lessen your focus on listening to your inner critic and find ways to stop judging yourself and others. Criticism creates more problems than it solves. And so that's really good to know. Okay, well, this is something that's going to be like more prominent for me than it might be for other people. So yeah, that's great to know that conscious pattern, but now I can help them with the unconscious side of it as well. And I think it can help us parent. I think it can help us learn to relate to them and learn what's important to them, what fuels them, what's their core fear, what's their core desire, what do they really care about? And we can parent them in different ways. I'll also add that to human design too. Huge difference. Learning that one of my kids was a projector when the rest of us, almost all, were manifesting generators. I have a husband who's a generator too. And the rest of us manifesting generators besides this one son. Very different energy and how that energy works. As in, he needs more rest, he needs more sleep, he needs more introverted time, he needs more time away from other people. He thinks really deeply about things. There is a strategy for making decisions in each human design. And my strategy is a very quick decision making. If you've been listening to my podcast, you might be not surprised by that at all, but it's very fast. There's another one where it's not fast, like it's all emotional and you have to wait some time for the emotions to go up and down before you make your decision. And so if I'm trying to tell other people that they should run their businesses like me, or they should parent like I do, or they should make their decisions more quickly like I do, that might not be true for them at all. And so if you are a coach, this is like absolutely imperative to learn. I figure out what my clients' Enneagrams are. I figure out their human design. I love to dig into gene keys because I think it shows this huge perspective on what is best for them. How do they best want to run their business? What work would be best for them? What rhythm is good for their life? What's important to them? And also, what is their core fears? What made them the way that they are? And how can we work through those shadows? I think is all really important. Okay, lastly, this is getting to be a little bit longer of an episode than the norm, so sorry about that. But Gene Keys is like my current love of my life. It's by Richard Rudd. And it was created, so the man who created human design, his name's Ra Uru Hu. And one of his students, Richard Rudd, created Gene Keys because he felt like human design was a little bit too boxed in or prescriptive or something. He just didn't feel like it was open or expansive as much as it could be. So the Gene Keys is he created it over the course of a decade or more. And again, it combines several different systems within one. But you can get a free hologenetic profile. Gene Keys is Gene keys, and hologenetic is HOLOGENETIC. So go Google free hologenetic profile to figure out what yours is. Again, it's the day and time of your birth, so you don't have to do the Enneagram thing of reading about it and researching in order to figure out who you are. Number 7 is my life's work, my life's purpose. There's going to be several different numbers that you have that relate to different numbers. And as I started to read about it, I've done a whole episode on humans and hierarchy. And number 7 is literally like dismantling the hierarchy. And I'm reading about it and I'm like, this is my life's work. Because I believe that what happens within us when we're activated, when a trigger happens, is like division. I'm either greater than or less than you, which is not true. That's a non-truth, false perception, an illusion that we slip into in that moment based on how we're feeling, based on our past patterning. And in order to really shift into true power within and to healing within, we have to heal that division. We have to recognize it for what it is. And so the number 7 talks all about healing division and all about hierarchy. My mind was blown about it because I'm like, this is why I believe that shame is division, shame is hierarchy, and it's my goal to move through that. So what's cool about Gene Keys is everything has a city being SIDDHI, which is like a spiritual power. So for number 7, the spiritual power, the gift would be virtue, not gift, sorry, the spiritual power, because there's also a gift, a city, a gift, and a shadow. So the gift is guidance and the shadow is division. So division being like separateness, right? That's what I'm talking about when I talk about hierarchy. So Gene Keys is really cool. It's meant for contemplation. So it's meant to sit and read and think and ponder and digest and understand in a deeper way. And both Gene Keys and human design are pretty spiritual systems, I would say. Enneagram might even be as well. And so whatever feels like it's calling to you, you don't have to do one or the other. You can do all of them if you want, but whatever feels like it's calling to you. But I will say that the purpose of this whole thing, my whole episode, is to help you feel like it is okay to be you. Not only it is okay, like it is the best thing possible for you to be you. There could be no better job on the earth than for you to discover who you are and be the most you that you can you. Your family will be blessed. Your life will be blessed. It will open you up to much more manifestation in all the realms that you want. So I will offer that. And I will also mention real quick, I have a retreat coming in September, all about money, magic, manifestation, magic being like opening myself up to be more me, be more who I am. You can check that out at coachcrystal.ca/retreat. I expect that it will sell out quickly. And I would love to have you join us if you're interested in that. In every retreat that I have, we go over Gene Keys, Enneagram, and human design. And every small group program that I do, I'll be offering another one shortly, but I always take these into account because I really think that they matter, right? When we talk about something like safety and security, like why do I feel this way in my relationships? Why do I feel this way about money? Why do I feel this way about my body? Learning more about me and how I work is going to impact that as well. So if that interests you, go check these out. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. And there's a lot of great people to follow and to research, and the books are great. Sometimes people feel like Gene Keys reads a little bit like an encyclopedia, and it can be a little hard to understand, but I love it. And if you have any questions about that, reach out on Instagram or my email at crystal@coachcrystal.ca. And we will see you next time that I find a joyful topic to talk about. Have a good week.